Walk into any modern grocery store, and the availability of food feels effortless. The shelves are stocked, the produce is vibrant, and the supply seems to renew itself overnight. This abundance relies on a startling statistical paradox. In the United States, less than 5% of the population produces enough food to feed the entire nation, plus millions of people overseas. Never before in human history have so few people shouldered the responsibility of keeping everyone else alive. This extreme efficiency creates a disconnect. Because the other 95% of us never have to plant a seed or raise an animal, we remain blind to the complex survival systems working behind the scenes. When these invisible systems fracture, the reality of our dependence becomes clear. Mismanaging soil or water during a drought washes away decades of stability, turning millions of acres into a wasteland that can no longer provide. The book Ag101 frames with stakes clearly. Without food, nothing else matters. Long before we built cities or explored space, we had to master the biological architecture of the food system. That grocery store aisle represents the final stop of a highly vulnerable machine, one that we can no longer afford to take for granted. Successful farming requires far more than just putting seeds in the dirt. It is a process of managing the strict physical boundaries set by the earth itself. This chart outlines the environmental limits dictating what can grow where. Soil and water are critically linked. Soil structure determines moisture retention, dictating nutrient movement. If they are out of sync, plant growth stops, regardless of sunlight. Humans eventually learned to push back against these natural limits. The Green Revolution of the mid-20th century introduced breakthroughs in plant breeding and genetics, transforming agriculture from a natural gamble into an engineered science. While nature defines the absolute boundaries, scientific intervention allows those boundaries to yield enough calories to sustain billions of people. Managing this science has fundamentally changed the role of the farmer. Today's producers operate as CEOs and data analysts, overseeing high-stakes business enterprises. They utilize precision agriculture, integrating artificial intelligence, drones, and autonomous machinery to optimize yields and remove human guesswork. This digital gauge shows how farmers track biological data down to the square inch. If a single plant shows signs of water stress or a nutrient deficiency, sensors flag the issue for an immediate response. Despite this technological power, the economics remain brutal. Farmers must balance massive fixed costs for equipment and land against unpredictable market swings and extreme weather events. Modern farming has become a high-wire financial act, where a single data-driven decision determines the difference between global supply stability and a local economic collapse. Once a crop leaves the field, it enters a global web. Harvested goods move through an immense network of processors, wholesalers, and retailers before reaching the consumer. In the United States, this entire network is steered by the Farm Bill. This legislation serves as the invisible engine of the food system, setting the rules for everything from crop insurance and subsidies to conservation practices. Agricultural markets are now so tightly wound that one localized event can trigger a massive global chain reaction. A severe drought in Argentina can cause an immediate spike in beef prices in Idaho. The scale of this market is massive. This chart shows the U.S. exporting a record $177 billion in agricultural products. Looking at the growth since 1990, our dependency on trade deepens yearly. We grow for a planetary market. True food security now depends on a constant, delicate balance of international diplomacy, trade agreements, and global logistics. Returning to the grocery store aisle, we see it for what it is, the finish line of Earth's most complex, high-stakes supply chain. The challenge ahead is to rapidly expand this system's output to feed a growing population while natural resources shrink and the climate shifts. Solving that problem involves a vast network of professionals. Stability now depends on engineers, policymakers, and environmental scientists who can navigate these shrinking margins. But in a democracy, the most significant agricultural decisions are made by the 95% of citizens who do not farm. Most agricultural legislation is shaped by people who have never stepped foot on a commercial field, yet their votes steer the policies that keep the country fed. Because the survival of the food supply rests on the choices of the general public, agricultural literacy has become a fundamental civic responsibility. We must understand the machine if we intend to steer it safely through the 21st century.